Good evening, rockers. Thank you for got us here on the Rocks Total Entertainment, coming to you live from somewhere on the Las Vegas Strip. Tonight, we are interviewing Lost Circus. So let's get them in. Okay, let's check them in. All right. What's up, Kenny? Can you hear me?
Hi there.
Hi, how are you? I'm gonna get Steven.
Hang on, I can't hear you. I got to turn up some stuff.
Okay,
Hi.
perfect. We got Tom coming in. Hi, Tom.
This is Steve.
Okay, hi, Steve. I get these screens are like switching on me, so bear with me here.
Yeah, gotcha.
Well, yeah, we'll get Tom's got to turn his microphone on.
I'm on.
Okay, you're on because I can't see you.
Well, that's odd.
Is it gonna just be the two of you?
Well, Kenny and Steve are here.
Okay, because I have Tom with no picture. You know, I see Kenny, and there we are.
Ta-da! Look at that.
Yay! You got your mic on, Tom?
I do.
Fantastic. I am so excited to have you guys here tonight. I've been telling all my rock friends in town what an awesome band you guys have.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Because I've been listening to your music all week, and I can't wait to we'll start discussing your music here a little bit. Why don't I'm gonna have you guys, Kenny, we'll start with you. Tell everybody what you do in the band.
I am Kenny Knight and I play guitar.
And Steve?
I am vocalist of lead.
Fantastic. And Tom?
I sit in the back and watch the other four guys. I play drums.
Okay, great. That's awesome. So I'm glad collectively because how many of you are in this band?
5.
Well, there's 5 of us. Chad may be joining us.
Okay.
Brian is actually on the road.
Okay.
So
I think we've got Chad chiming in here. Let's see if we can get him in. Do. Okay, we'll wait a second and then we'll get started. It's Chad, right? You think it's Chad zooming in?
could be Brian.
Okay.
It's either Chad or Brian.
All
That's
right.
all that's left.
So we'll just sit here for a minute. Hey, I had an amazing time at Rockin' Pod.
That was a good time. It was.
That was
Nice.
a great. Okay, we lost him. He'll come back. But yeah, I had a great time in Nashville. I mean, that's such a music community, and it was great to meet bands like yourselves. Super cool. I still have the little poker chip that you guys gave me, along with some other merch, which is great. Let's talk about your music a little bit, because the 2 songs that kind of stick out for me, I love them all, but the 2 songs that stuck out for me were She's a Fire and This Place is Mad. I kind of like both of them because they're a little bit different. Let's start with the first one, She's a Fire. Tell me a little bit about how you guys wrote that song.
Kenny came up with the initial hook at the beginning, the little guitar turnaround hook thing, and gave me a copy of a rough demo that he had of basically a completed song to a point. And then I was listening to it at work and driving back and forth. I just sat down and wrote it. It just came to me. It's one of those weird ones that I just kind of filled in real quick.
Because I love the guitar in it.
Yeah.
Kenny, I love the guitar in it.
Thank you.
Tom, what
ahead.
about you? How did you feel about the song?
Well, it was really the whole genesis of this band was everybody coming to the table with pieces and parts, or completed musical pieces, or what Steve hasn't shared with you yet is that Steve's been a songwriter most of his life, and so he has notebooks full of lyrics, you
Okay.
know. So as far as piecing completed pieces of music together, it really came on pretty quickly. Ken, when we first got together, it was just Kenny, Steve, and I, and within a matter of, I don't know, a couple of rehearsals, we had half a dozen songs or so that were 80% there.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, so it's been thankfully a really sort of a natural process for us. And then of course when Brian and Chad came in to complete the lineup of the band, um, it was, and I know it sounds cliche, but it was really pretty magical how everything came together so quickly.
Kind of serendipitous.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Okay, now we have somebody that came in, but I can't, they didn't put their name down there and it's really dark. So,
It'll be
It's
Brian.
Brian.
hi, Brian, I can't see
Hello.
you.
Yeah,
I
I'm
can-
driving through the mountains, so it's
Oh, okay.
pitch black. Yeah.
Okay, well, you can kind of chime in. We were just talking
Okay.
about She's a Fire.
Okay.
And how that song kind of came together, and the guys were kind of talking to me about it. What's your feelings on that song?
I think it's got like all kinds of great elements, from the catchy hook in the beginning to really melodic choruses, and kind of a really catchy message as well, and very orchestrated, lots of big parts. It drives the whole way through up until it gets to the breakdown, and then it takes off like a rocket to the end. So I really think it kind of encompasses all the different things we do.
Yeah, because that's a great, like I said, I've been listening to your music all week, and these two songs kind of really stuck out. So I kind of wanted to hear the the backstory on it.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
now let's talk about how this band became a band. So who wants it? Tom, why don't you kind of fill the viewers in on how Lost Circus became such a great band in Nashville?
Well, we've all been friends, so there was the friendship thread in place before we were ever a band. Steve and I were playing in an Iron Maiden tribute band together called Iron Tribe.
Okay.
And so, we were working together in that scenario. Steve and Kenny were friends. I knew of Kenny. Kenny was playing in another Judas Priest tribute band here in town.
Okay.
And so Steve and I had, from way back, both had made it known to each other that we wanted to do an original project with each other, and so it kind of started there. Then Steve reached out to Kenny. And then, of course, I've known Brian for decades, knowing what an unbelievable musician he was. We have, over that long period of time, looked for an opportunity to play in a band together. And it just nothing ever really sort of, had that spark that we either one individually or collectively thought would work well. Well, after Kenny and Steve and I had been together for, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, and been sharing songs back and forth and this and that, I thought, I think this is something that Brian would really enjoy and glam onto. So I sent him 3 or 4 songs, I think, of just some rehearsal tapes and that sort of thing. And Brian was pretty quick to get back and say, yeah, I like what I'm hearing. So Brian came out, and it was sort of a magical gelling of personalities, and that's the great thing too, is that we're all friends. We're all very like-minded individuals. We have so much fun when we're together. in addition to the music that we're playing and creating, that it's just it really works. And then Brian said, you know what, I think I've got the perfect bass player, but he wouldn't tell us who it was. And so he dangled that carrot out there for a few weeks, and said, yeah, he's going to show up at rehearsal this night. And then Chad magically appeared.
Hi, Chad.
And-
Chad's joining us. Hi, Chad.
How's it going?
It's going.
Chad, it's the
Sorry.
Chad.
Had to update my Zoom application to get in.
Oh, that's cool. We're
And
kind
Chad's the IT master in this bunch.
we're kind of just getting started here. We're kind of talking about the history of your band and how kind of collectively you guys are all friends and you got together. And this is an amazing band. You guys are tight rock and roll bands.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And
Appreciate that.
I think Nashville really kind of opened my eyes because, coming from Las Vegas, we have a really strong music scene out here. And I know Nashville is, but I really didn't understand how big of a rock and roll town Nashville was until I went to Rock and Pot Fest.
Yeah.
Yeah. The great thing is there are so many great musicians that live in Nashville, that call Nashville home, that, Nashville being a country music city is not the case anymore. It's
Right,
music in
right.
general.
Right.
And what's fun is to see musicians from cross genres get together and create music. I think Steve can give you a little bit of his background and how he ended up here.
Yeah, Steve, let's talk about like how you ended up here.
I started off, I grew up listening to 80s metal, Judas Priest, Ozzy.
Oh, of
Osbourne.
course. And you have some Megadeth behind you.
Megadeth, that's pretty much everything there is Megadeth.
My friend Jeff Young
Sorry.
would love that.
So that was basically all I listened to in the 80s. I grew up on George Jones and Loretta Lynn. My parents were country. I'm from the state of Maine, so there's not a lot of anything to do up there except drink, work in the woods, fish, and play music. That's about it. There's 4 things to do. Anyway, so in 1997, I was doing country music at the time up in Maine, and they said, like everybody else says, man, you're so good, you should move to Nashville and make it big, which 1,000 people a day come to Nashville because people tell them that they're great. So you just
Oh.
never know. So I came to town in 97, moved the family down here, and I busted my butt for 10 years writing songs in the country vein, and got jaded, burned out, stopped doing it. And then my wife said, probably about 5 years ago, she said, something's missing. You need to do something. And why don't you do some rock and roll again? I said, all right. So a couple friends of mine asked me to sit in on some heavy metal stuff. We did that. And then I eventually joined Tom in this guy's band, Noise Cult. He's the guy that started up the Iron Tribe tribute. And we did that, the Iron Maiden tribute, the Iron Tribe. That's basically it. I mean, I've been writing songs since I was in high school, give or take. And they were terrible back then. They were terrible songs. But I think one of the songs I just wish I wrote in 99 as a country song. So it's 24 years old. The words are, and the country version is way different than the way we do it. So we just give it a good kick. That was the first song I wrote for my thought process was, I'm going to start a new band, and it's going to be a Megadeth / Queensryche thing. It's going to be heavy as hell and melodic, and had these guys can attest to the demo that I did. Had like a 16-minute solo in the middle, and I can't play guitar very good, so they fixed it all. That was basically one of the first songs I started with, and then Kenny came up with hooks, and Brian came up with hooks, and then
Yeah, you guys have that heavy metal sound, but it's totally different.
yeah, it's totally different than what I imagined it to be, and it's a hard rock, heavy metal mix kind of, and we were already turned down by one website. They said we weren't heavy metal, so I hate those people. But anyway, We've got
Big,
3 or
big
4 songs on
mistake.
there that are heavy
Big
metal.
mistake.
Yeah, that's what I said. But anyway, it's been fun piecing it all together. Yeah, we've got some more stuff in the works too. So
Yeah, that's
Right.
what you were telling me in Nashville. We'll talk about that too.
Yeah.
Chad, let's hear from you. Tell us how I know you guys were all friends and everything. Now, do you also write in the band as well?
Yeah, I mean, the writing process we do as a band. Now, I mean, Steve obviously comes with the lyrics, and Kenny and Brian pretty much bring the riffs. But then we work the songs up together, you know, and piece them together and make sure that, you know, everybody has equal input. And that's something that even before I joined, I mean, that's something that we had already talked about. You know, this was always going to be a band. There's not a, you know, this isn't so and so. It's not Steve Libby and the Lost Circus. You know, we're a band.
Yeah.
Yet, yeah. You
That's
know,
after the
I mean,
second album.
yeah, yeah. When he goes to solo,
I gotta do my solo.
you know, I know. Speaking for myself, I've actually experienced that in the past, where, you know, a band I was in previously, we got to the point of actual, you know, label looking at us, and the lead singer all of a sudden decided that, you know, he wanted 50%, and then when the rest of us could split the rest, and we were like, whoa. So it's really good that we've had that conversation ahead of time. But as far as the writing process goes, that's kind of how it works. You know, everybody has equal input, and you know, if we've got criticisms or ideas one way or the other, you know, we can all tell each other, hey, I don't know if I particularly like that part, maybe try this. And, you know, we check our egos at the door, which is good, you know, because ultimately the goal is to have something at the end of the day that is absolutely the best it can be. And, you know, sometimes you have to understand that, I actually, my day job, I work in a marketing firm, and one of the things they always talk about is the best idea wins, period. Who don't care who came up with it, the best idea wins. And if it doesn't, then we all lose. So
Right.
it's a good amalgam.
That's great. Kenny, let's talk to you now. Now
Okay.
he said you're the riff master, one of the riff masters. Is this true?
One of the riff masters, Brian and I, we kind of share that job equally. When it was just me, Tom, and Steve, you know, of course, it was, well, Steve can write guitar too. He's very modest about talking about it, but Steve can actually come up with some pretty cool stuff too. So, but yes, either I'll come up with an idea and send it to the band, or Brian will come up with an idea, send it to the band. But ultimately, when we get in the same room together, everything changes. You know, we each add our own little thing to it. So even if I come up with a riff, by the time the song's done, it could be maybe not totally different, but by the time from start to finish, it's usually a different song.
Got a few of the same notes in it.
Yeah. So, but, and to reiterate what Chad said, we are definitely a 5-man band. Everybody puts their signature on everything we do. We don't come in and say, you have to do this and you have to do that. We all have a lot of creative freedom with how we think the song should go. So, you know, in a week or two later, we may listen to the demo tapes and say, you know, that's not working. Let's do something else with this part or that part. So our songwriting process is pretty organic. You know, none of us ever get mad if, say if I was to write a riff and I thought it was awesome, and a month from now somebody says, you know, it just isn't working. You know, we don't get mad about that kind of stuff. We rewrite it to where it fits all of us. And that is the good thing about this band. There's no dictatorship. Everything is like I said, everything is 5 ways with us. We don't finish the song until we're all happy.
Yeah,
we
that's
don't
great.
scrap very many songs at all, really. Just
No, but we always make them better.
right.
It's like
Right.
if there's a core of an idea in there that's catchy enough that it sticks with us, then we polish it. you know, and reorchestrate it and maybe slow it down or speed it up, rearrange it, but that core is there. And then we put our touches on it and it becomes something that none of us thought of, you know, to begin with.
Right.
I should say this too, given the sixth member of the band, Tom Harding, our producer,
Right.
nothing we do works without his blessings. So
Pretty much.
we write songs and then he says, you know what? It's either great or it's crap. We're going to do this and that. And that guy, he can really help you put a song together. So I'm going to give kudos to Tom Harding.
Oh, that's great. Very cool.
He really helped us mold and structure this band into what it is
Yeah.
in the studio. He hung out with us a lot at rehearsals and he would sit and just be quiet and you never knew if he liked it or not.
No, that was
And
fun.
then, you know, and this guy's a Grammy winning producer. So he's sitting there and half the time you don't know if he's even paying attention, but he is.
Oh yeah, he's sucking it all in.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
yeah.
makes mental notes and you know the first rehearsal he came to, he did just that, just what Kenny described, and you know, and of course I've known Tom longer than anybody else in the band, and he and I actually went to school together at MTSU, and you know, he came in, he sat on the couch over in the corner. And we ran down everything we had put together, you know, to that point. And we talked about just unrelated stuff, you know, just sort of small talk. And he left, and all these guys looked at me and they're like, "What's up with him?" And I said, "Just give him a minute." Well, before I was home from rehearsal, he was blowing my phone up and he was like, "Yep, you're right." Because I had told Tom, I said, you know, because we hadn't done anything together musically in a while, and I had called him and I said, "Hey man, believe it or not, I'm in a band and I think you should hear this band." And he said, "Well, if you think I should hear it, then I'll come hear it." So he did, and it's been, like Kenny said, he's virtually the sort of the sixth member. He has an ear for arrangement. He has an ear for, you know, he calls himself, "I'm just an average guy that's a fan of this kind of music." So, you know, and of course, that's why we do this, right? You know, because we want to do something that other people are going to enjoy. So that's kind of how he came into the mix, and he's been an integral piece of this ever since.
Now, as far as playing shows, what have you played out lately, or are you going to be going on the road soon?
We
Well,
playing a show.
somebody else take that one.
Everybody
20th,
jump
we're
in
playing
at
a
once.
local- We're playing at a local show here in 404
Okay.
Bar and Grill, so that'll be a fun show. And I think sometime in October.
Yeah,
somebody else?
13th, October 13th.
Yes.
Chad, you want to take this one?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So we're actually going to be opening up the Rocktober show at the Old Gray, which is a amphitheater in Monterey, Tennessee. And that show is headlining Winger and Warrant. And we're going to open that show for them.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank
We're really
you.
excited about that.
That's great.
And we did a show at the Brooklyn Bowl last year. I think it was in September, right? August?
Yes.
September. We opened for Accept. That was fun.
Yeah.
That was a good time. So we've had some pretty good show opportunities, and we're going to try to do some more this year, fill the calendar up a little bit and see what
Yeah,
happens.
we need to get you guys out to Vegas.
Yep.
Yes, you
Yeah,
do.
we were just talking about that a few days ago about putting together the logistics of making a West Coast run.
Yeah.
Like, you know, what cities we could hit on the way out there, you know, and on
Yeah.
the way back to make the loop.
Yep.
For sure. I mean, Phoenix is a really great spot as well.
Yep.
Members. They have a lot of great rock clubs out there as well. So yeah, you guys could definitely score with some great areas to play in the West Coast.
Well, if we can put a Vegas date or two together, then you can come out and host the show for us. How's that?
Okay, that would be
Heck yeah.
great. I would love to do that. That would be
Yeah.
awesome.
And if you have any kind of pull, you know, with some nice clubs out that way, you know, shoot those guys a line.
Or
let 'em
who
know about
who
us.
books them, or a contact, that type of thing.
Well, the Vegas Rock Goddess might know a couple people here. We could talk.
You think so?
All right.
But
Well, I'll just say Vegas, as far as Vegas goes, I would personally love to play with Count 77. I
oh,
think that would be
yeah,
so cool.
Vamped, what a great nightclub for a live show.
Yeah, it's a great
Yeah.
venue.
That's kind of my second home. This past Thursday night, I saw Texas Hippie Coalition, with
wow.
my friends Gravel.
Yeah.
Great show. Amazing venue to play, but there's a couple hidden gems in this town as well. That we'll talk about later, but yeah, Vamped is one of the best clubs in the city.
Yeah.
For sure.
We're open. We're available.
Okay. Well, let's talk now. What I want to talk about is your influences. So let's start with you, Chad. What are your musical influences?
And I think all of us have kind of an eclectic background of a little bit of everything. I mean, clearly hard rock and heavy metal is kind of the lifeblood. My absolute number one influence is Faith No More. But I'm also a huge Beatles fan, and I also played in the jazz band in high school and college. So, I've got a little background and played a little bit of everything. But when it comes right down to it, if you had to nail me down and say, pick a genre, you can only play that genre from now on. I'm gonna do hard rock and heavy metal. But yeah, so the Faith No More, the grunge scene back in the 90s really, got into me. I had a band in high school that we just cover band, and as everybody did, and we used to do the Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains, and but we also did Pantera, Megadeth, Metallica, a little bit of everything. So, but that's kind of where I come from.
Tom, what about you? This is an interesting question for you. What are your influences as far as drummers?
Well, obviously everything I listen to, I'm picking the drums apart, right? So, by far, anything that Tommy Aldridge has been involved with, I'm a huge fan of. So, White Snake to, he played with Steve Vai in White Snake. So Tommy's always been my number one. But some of the prog guys, Mike Portnoy, Danny Carey, those kind of guys, I will never be as technically proficient as those guys. But I try and learn a little bit from everybody I listen to. From a show perspective, which is another whole thing, Lost Circus, one of our driving forces is to put on a show for people. There's nothing more boring than a bunch of guys in jeans and t-shirts standing on stage,
Right.
playing music. But of course, Tommy Lee, Bobby Blotzer, back in the Rat days.
Yes.
Those guys. Good timekeepers. I had a studio musician here in Nashville tell me years and years and years ago, who I totally respected as a drummer, who's since passed, a guy by the name of Larry London. He taught me two valuable lessons. He said, because I was trying to pick up pointers from him, and he said, first thing he said was, any idiot can play the drums. It takes a musician to play the song. And the other thing was, it's more important when not to play than when to play. you know. And if you listen to Lost Circus music, you'll hear that there are spaces for the music to breathe. There are places where it's not just a constant barrage of drums and guitars and bass. And we try and be very cognizant of that in how we arrange our songs and that sort of thing, so that we're all playing for that collective piece of music, you know. And when it's time for an individual to shine, then boom, they get their chance.
Yeah, and that's great. Brian, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, tell us what, okay, we lost him. He was in the
Yeah.
mouth. So he'll come back. So,
I'm gonna have to sign off for a second, take my dog out. and I'll
okay.
be- Sorry, I will
It's
be
rock and
right.
roll time. It's
I'll
okay.
be-
Come
I'll
on
be
back.
right back.
Kenny,
Let's go.
that's metal, Kenny.
No worries. Okay, so let's talk to you, Steve.
Okay, influences. I grew up on the best country music in the 70s. Every song that my dad put in the 8-track while we were driving in the Gran Torino, I remember. I loved it just because it was the repetitive thing. It got me into music. My dad was a guitar player and sang a little bit. And when I got into high school, the very first thing I discovered was the Back in Black album. I was late to the game, I'll admit it, but it was that album that got me. I was like, wait, there's gotta be something else out there. And then a friend of mine got the Screaming for Vengeance album. And then I went back and got all the
Okay.
other Judas Priest albums
Brian's back.
and all that
Get-
other
Get
stuff.
him in a second here.
Is he coming?
Yeah, he's coming in. Hold on. I just want to make sure he's there. You there, Brian? You there, Brian?
Yeah, now I am.
Okay. Okay. Just
I'm going through the mountains.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're cool. Don't worry about it. I'm just gonna
All right.
finish up with Steve and then we'll come back to you. Go ahead.
Okay.
Finish telling us your influences.
Okay, so I never ever got into Led Zeppelin or any of that stuff until later in life. So
Okay.
I found a lot of great music. I had 10, 15 years worth of music that I never listened to. I listened to it all in the 80s. But most of the stuff and then I found Megadeth. That I was like, oh my gosh, this is my jam. Even though everybody says Dave can't sing, I love his voice. He's melodic, he writes great songs. Lyrically, he's a genius. A lot of and riffage and all that stuff, whatever, it's great. So I really got into Megadeth, never got into Metallica. I don't know why. Just got it might have something to do with the Megadeth Metallica thing, but I don't. Anyway, at Queensryche, all of my singing, the people I loved that sang was Rob Halford, Jeff Tate, Ronnie James Dio, Dickinson from Maiden. That was the kind of music that, because when I was younger, I could hit all of those notes fairly well. And so I did all of those cover bands. We played bars, did the 4-hour sets. I couldn't do a 4-hour set now if you paid me $1,000, but maybe $1,000. Anyway, but I could do all that stuff. And I was like, oh, I just sucked it in and sucked it in. And then Chad and the freaking grunge stuff that happened that he loves ruined it all.
We moved his box in the middle, so Brian's straight.
But no, I got into Alice in Chains in the
Uh-huh.
90s and the Cult and stuff like that. Some of that stuff, some of the
Like Soundgarden. Did you listen to a lot of
Soundgarden, yeah,
Soundgarden?
absolutely, stuff like that. And then that was it. I stopped listening to just about everything. And my favorite other band is Diamond Rio. I mean, I know
Oh, yeah.
every album, every song, every word, every note, every melody. You could just tell me a song and I could sing it. And I like it because they tell stories. The songs tell stories, and the guy can sing, and they're all perfectionist musicians. And it's just, anyway, it's great. All the other new country, I don't really care for anything on the radio right now. I couldn't tell you who Bruno Mars is. I don't know who that is. I know who he is, but I couldn't, I'm really stuck on my music, what I call my music.
Right.
That's the stuff that I grew up on, and nothing. And once that stopped being made, I kind of gave up on a lot of it and just
Well,
concentrated on all that. So,
Yeah.
but
I think Nashville in general is really shifting.
mhm.
I don't think it's like Tom was saying, I don't think it's a country western town anymore, really. We know that it'll always be there as an element, but I think it's shifting to rock and roll.
I hope it continues.
Yeah,
Because it's a struggle to get shows here in town.
yeah, and you know, with the way the music industry is now, I think a lot of people are catching up from the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I think in 23 it's going to explode now. I mean, all these bands are ready to rock.
I hope so. Original music, there's tons of tribute shows and cover bands here in Nashville, which we're
Oh,
all
there is in
nothing
Vegas
against
too. There is in Vegas too.
Yeah.
And
There's a
but
ton of really talented people,
oh yeah. And the funny thing is these people that are doing these cover band, shows,
Mhm.
they're actually starting to write original material.
That's good. That's the way to go. Yeah.
So yeah, because again, cover bands are what they are. They're cover bands. And I'm not
Mhm.
putting any of it down, but I'm
Right.
really glad to see that these bands are opening their eyes to getting original material.
Yep. Right.
And it's
Yeah.
really important. Okay, Brian, tell us a little bit about your influences.
I would say that mine kind of trace all the way back to when I was maybe about 4 or 5 years old. My mom showed me a picture of Alice Cooper and Kiss at the same time. And it was a few years before I actually got into the music of it, but I was fascinated by the presentation and the maybe comic book entertainment kind of aspect to it, and the colors and all of that totally, attracted me. The theater side of it, the way that they encapsulated the songs into how they presented them. It wasn't just singing words and playing notes, and everything kind of grew out of that. I've always had an attraction to bands that put on a show, that do more than just play the music. And I also grew up like playing recorder, saxophone, keyboards. I was a drum major in high school. I hear things, I don't just hear the guitar, I hear whole pieces. From the drums to the vocals, all of them are equal instruments. They all play a part. I didn't study classical, but I listened to it pretty regularly to hear how parts bleed into others, and where you lose the individual instrument and it just becomes one whole powerful presentation. So I think that's what attracted me to Queensryche, to Iron Maiden, to Stryper, the way that they did their harmonies and the way that they blended things and created sounds that you go, what is that? How did they make that sound? How did they get that chord? And it wasn't just one guy playing the riff. It was the whole band deliberately putting notes together that created its own sound that with one person doesn't exist. And then on the other side, you take somebody like Eddie Van Halen. He was a huge influence on me, and he kind of had that classical background, but he did his own thing where he took that knowledge and then made it fun. When I hear him play, I just see him smiling through his music. And it's a totally different kind of way to present music from the kind of orchestrated Iron Maiden type, big band type thing. And so all of that kind of came together for me. And then in high school, the guy who was my best friend, oddly enough, the first show I ever saw was Queensryche opening for Oz. And right after that, I met a guy in jazz band in high school. And it turned out that his dad had been the pilot of the plane that Randy Rhoads had. And we got to become very, very good friends because I was a huge Ozzy and, of course, Randy fan by that time, and got to see all kinds of pictures that people never saw and hear all kinds of things that, happened. And that always, for some reason, drew, made me feel even closer to Randy. And so there's a lot of voicings in our music that very much come out of Randy.
Okay.
His dog's got a pee too.
Stat.
There you are.
Oh, how long
lost it.
since you heard me?
Oh,
Just
he
about
just
5
went
feet.
out to.
What's
yeah,
that?
He took his dog out. He's back. Kenny's back.
Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. But that's great because all the influences that you just
You hear
mentioned,
me?
I can totally hear a lot of those elements in your music. Collectively, you each have your own like spice that you're bringing to your band. And I think it's amazing.
You know, one of the great things about Brian and why I wanted to play in a band with him so bad is like he's like the ultimate puzzle master, right? He can take all these little pieces and plug them in together and create this, you know, this stunning musical imagery that I think we all collectively really appreciate and kind of look to him to sort of put the icing on the cake, so to speak.
Right. Now, let's talk to you, Kenny. We're not going to forget about you. So tell us what your musical influences are.
Okay. I started out playing guitar when I was probably 12 or so. And my very first influence was Kiss. I got introduced to Kiss when I was probably 10 years old. So like Brian, I loved the whole theatrical theme. So later on, my mom and dad both played musical instruments in church. So I started playing bass with a touring gospel band when I was probably 15, 16, somewhere around in there.
Okay.
So I toured around the southern states for, I don't know, 2-3 summers, and kind of lived on a Greyhound bus for a little while. But my true love has always been rock, hard rock. You know, I've played a little bit of country, played in a couple of country bands. After Kiss, I guess I started getting into like Alice Cooper, Ted Nugent. I'm a huge Leonard Skinner fan. Love the old Skinner stuff.
Right.
Then I started getting into the more heavier stuff like Judas Priest and Iron Maiden. And I just take all, and definitely like Brian said, Ozzy, Randy Rhoads, you know, Jakey Lee, Zakk Wylde. Started taking all those elements and didn't, you know, I kind of developed my own style. You know, my style is a little more bluesy, blues rock style more so than Brian's. He's more of a metal
Purist.
Yeah. Brian is the shredder in the band. He plays all the fast, super cool fast stuff, and I play more of the slower solos. So
Kind of the bluesy kind of.
Yeah, and that's really helped develop our sound.
Yeah.
Because we're not the same guitarist. You know, our guitar playing is even though we come together and play together in the band, we have different backgrounds musically. And I think that's what makes our songs unique.
Yeah.
You know, we're not doing the same exact thing through the whole song. We're doing something different.
Right.
So and it gives it a lot of flavor. But I would say that's it. You know, I love a million bands, of course. AC/DC, I like the simplicity of AC/DC. You know, they can take a handful of chords and
make 14 albums.
make all kinds, make millions on top of millions. They still pack stadiums. They still pack houses all over the world with the same songs they've been playing forever, and people still love it.
Yeah.
And anytime you're at a ball, anytime you walk into a club or a ball game, you're going to hear some AC/DC.
Oh yeah.
And nobody ever says turn that AC/DC crap off.
Oh.
Everybody's, you know,
unless they want to get hurt physically.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, and that's the kind of stuff we want to put out. We want to put it, and you know, we get played at hockey games. Then HL, we get played at the Predators games, and hopefully you know, there's a lot of people in that arena. Hopefully a few of them are taking notice and go out and seek our music out, you know?
Right. Let's talk about your social media. I think it's amazing what you guys are doing.
Chad.
Now who's in charge? Or Chad, are you in
Yeah.
charge of the social media?
Yes, I pretty much maintain all of our social media across all platforms. So, you know, Instagram, Facebook, our YouTube channel, Twitter. We've got a TikTok, but we haven't really done much with it.
Okay.
But it's there.
Well, okay, let's talk about that for a second, okay? Because I do a lot of video filming of bands, and I'll just give you an example. I was at Tesla I think it was last Monday night here in Vegas. They're doing a residency, and I was up in VIP. So I'm like, okay, I mean, so I decided to do one of the songs. So I dropped it on TikTok. Okay. Right now it's at 11,000 views.
Huh.
Okay. That's
Yep.
one example. The other example is Danny Coker's band Count 77.
Right.
With Stoney Curtis, my friend. He plays the guitar in the band. Amazing guitar player. I was at one of their shows at Vamped, up front as usual, and I actually recorded a song called Radar Love. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Oh yeah.
It's a great song. To this day, right now on TikTok, I think I'm up to 120,000 views.
Wow.
Wow.
So TikTok, let me tell you, is going to be the next huge marketing tool for a band. I mean, it
Right.
already is.
Right.
And my videos can say, I mean, I have like over 1,100 followers right now on TikTok.
Mhm.
I mean, it's amazing. And Facebook as well, you know, I mean, I'm like on all the social media platforms. But when it comes to live video, TikTok is the way to go.
Gotcha.
So I would love to see more stuff on TikTok from you guys.
Okay.
Making notes,
So do you do
making
it live?
notes.
You mean live as in the moment? Do you post it as you're
Yeah.
recording it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Like
it's-
Facebook Live, but
yeah.
TikTok.
What
Okay.
I do, well, I do a lot of Facebook Live
Mhm.
from the show. I'll do like 2 minutes of the song. I do that on Facebook as well as Instagram. And I'll actually videotape and download. It has to be, you want to keep it about 3 minutes. I'll just let you know, because
Right.
that's the attention span of a TikTok viewer.
Right.
3 minutes and less.
Right.
So anyway, I'll do that. And while I'm at the venue watching the show, I will download it immediately. I don't wait.
Gotcha.
So it's being downloaded and it's fresh. And people are like, wow, that show's going on right now.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, I just think TikTok is going to be for bands the next big thing. You know, you have YouTube. Amazing. Okay. But we need to get to the next level, you know, of besides YouTube. We're talking TikTok. We're talking Twitch. Okay. My friends, Hatriot, they've been doing live Twitch shows on there. And they're becoming kind of like the next big thing too, Twitch.
Mhm.
They're bringing a lot of rock and roll elements into that platform.
Yeah, we do have a Twitch account and I've done a little bit with it, but it hasn't been a focus yet.
Right. I mean, I can see you guys doing a live Twitch, to be honest. I think it would be great. Like you have that show coming up. You know, just throwing it out there. I'd like to see maybe a live Twitch, like on the spot, whatever. I mean, that or TikTok. I mean, these are all suggestions. This stuff is just, it works for me. you know,
Sure. Yeah.
and bands have contacted me over TikTok and Instagram, but yeah, I mean, I appreciate the platform, and that's why I want to bring you guys into the forefront of this,
Gotcha. Yeah.
because you're going to get more exposure on the daily. Like for instance, my friends Gravel, they're posting like snippets of a lot of their shows
Mhm.
and making them, you know, just like clips, like snippets.
Right.
And that's great, because you definitely want to keep the attention on your band. And I'm not here to give you guys advice, because you guys rock anyway, so I don't care.
That's good. We,
Everything helps.
Absolutely.
That is
But
the truth.
anyway, you
Can
know,
I ask you a question?
yeah,
We have a cameo by
Oh,
Eddie
okay.
Trump.
Okay, we got Brian back. I'm just letting him in.
Okay.
Okay, there-
Do you do cameo reviews for rock bands?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't started doing that. I've gotten a lot of requests for bands. They send me their material all the time. It's
Yeah.
just that I've got so many things in the fire, but I'm not saying I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I give my like honest opinion. Like I'll just give you, for example, Twitter. I was on Twitter a lot. I'm not on Twitter right now at all because I just don't have time for it.
Right.
That kind of platform, I'll be honest with you, is kind of dying out.
Right.
So
Okay.
not saying I wouldn't go back to it, but anyway, yeah, I mean, Eddie Trunk, I just saw him last night before last, when I went and saw Puddle of Mud with my friends Crashing Wayward. He was up there. I see him everywhere. He lives in Vegas.
Right. Yeah, he's got a place
So-
there now. So
Yeah. So, and he knows all of my rock friends. So I always, you know, see him at shows. But yeah, reviewing music, let me get back to that. A band from the UK, who I'm not going to mention the band's name, sent me a demo of one of their latest songs. Okay. So I did play it. And the guy, like the very next day, did you listen to it? I go, yes. And then he goes, what's your opinion? I go, do you really want it? And he goes, yes. I go, okay, are you ready? And I gave him my opinion, and let's just put it this way. He wasn't totally thrilled with it.
Right.
You know, hey, I'm a listener. I'm a fan, you know, he wanted my opinion. Don't be careful what you wish for.
Right.
Right.
Okay. So anyway, he took my advice, and they went back in the studio and they re-recorded the song that he sent me. So I haven't heard the after of the remix.
But you know what? That was very smart on his part. Yeah, you might get a little butt hurt, you know, if you play something that you know is your. Brian put it so well. It's basically, you know, creating something from nothing. You know, and it's very hard to be objective when you've given birth to this creation, you know, and it's so close, it's very hard to step back. So it's I think it's a fantastic creative tool to get feedback, you know, from people like yourself. That was the whole reason that I invited Tom Harding to be part of this whole you know, traveling circus anyway. It was because yeah, we all thought it was good, but we had been living with it for, you know, since its creation, since its inception.
Right.
So, you know, if people are open and willing enough to take criticism as constructive advice and not just get all, you know, butthurt about it and that, oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Well, you know, maybe she does, and maybe you should take that little piece of advice and
Right.
use it in a positive spin.
Yeah,
don't know.
and it's not like I was trying to totally rip on the song. But
Right.
I'll be honest with you, people send me stuff and I'll listen to it, and within the first 2 minutes, I will know if I like it.
Sure, of course.
I'm not only a rock journalist, I am a fan. So, you know, you kind of have to leave your ego at the door. If you're
Yeah.
going to send me something, be ready for the feedback. You know,
Okay,
I
we're
mean,
ready for our feedback.
hey, let me tell you something. If I didn't like your stuff, you wouldn't be on my show right now.
Well, there you have it. There you have it.
You talked to me in Nashville. You were great, man. There was
Well,
no way
thank
I
you.
wasn't going to have you on this show.
We appreciate it.
Thanks
But
so much.
yeah, I mean,
Hey, guys. Oh,
hi, Brian.
hey there. I was just gonna say, T-Mobile says they cover 99% of the US. I found the 1% they don't.
You're in the
cover.
1%.
Oh my gosh. I'm
Uh,
sorry, Brian. We're trying to keep you in the loop.
No, I just got through the Mount Eagle. So
Oh, yeah.
when I
that is.
first contacted, I was just going into it and I just got through it. So
Okay.
He's
Well,
on the
that's
home
great.
run now.
Yeah, we're kind of just talking about, you know, people send me a lot of music and they want my opinion.
yeah,
The first thing I tell them is, are you ready?
yeah,
Now, when I'm going to say that, two things can happen. It's either going to be absolutely freaking fantastic, or you're going to get my opinion on what I don't like about it.
right, right.
It's cut and dry. When you're a rock journalist, you want to be fair and unbiased. Okay.
Well, that goes to your credibility also, because if you're sitting there praising mediocrity, other people are going to pick up on that and go, really? She thinks that's good? You know, I mean,
Right.
to some point it's subjective in opinion, and sometimes stuff breaks through that a lot of people don't get, and then suddenly it's the next big thing. But yeah, you've got to be honest first with yourself, but then if somebody really asks your opinion, I mean, it is just, you know, one person's opinion, but you know, when you have credibility behind it and you're able to back it up and you're able to give constructive, hopefully
Criticism.
people appreciate that. Yeah.
Right. And they
Yeah.
do. Like,
Yeah.
my rock friends all know, they can trust me to be honest. Like, I'll tell them, hey, maybe you should turn up the guitars just a little bit in that last riff. You know, I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. I mean,
Yeah.
I started, you know, covering bands and stuff like in the 80s.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, I respect this business and I respect the artists that play it. So, I mean, I think my role in this industry is super important because nobody is doing what I'm doing right
Yeah.
now, which is talking to you guys and blowing you up.
Mhm.
We
There- I
appreciate
mean,
that.
I'm not even talking about Eddie Trunk. Eddie Trunk is in a different category. You
Right.
know, I'm out every weekend finding the hottest bands in the US. You know, I spent a week in Nashville finding the hottest bands in Nashville, and I did. And all of them are invited to come on my show.
Mhm.
Nice.
So, I think it's a win-win.
Yeah.
We certainly appreciate it.
Yeah. And your music is great. I mean, I can't really wait to see you live and in person. I love the YouTubes, great, but nothing is live like live itself.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
seeing those guitar riffs right in my face, that's what I want to see.
Nice.
Right?
You
I want to
got it.
see Tom throw a drumstick at me.
Right between the eyes.
What happened?
You know, I mean, broken or not broken, you can throw it at me. But yeah, I mean, you guys are a real important piece of this Nashville puzzle.
Well,
And
thank you.
I think the whole thing with Nashville and bands such as yourself is getting out of Nashville.
Amen,
Yes.
sister.
Okay, is
That's the
getting out
goal.
of Nashville and spreading your wings. You know, when I was there, I interviewed Native Sons.
Yeah.
They're an amazing band. They're going to be coming on in the next month or so, but they're a great band as well, and they're slowly kind of getting out of Nashville.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of the problem too with Vegas bands. I'll be honest with you. My friend's Crashing Wayward just got signed with RFK Media.
Yeah.
Okay, Ron Keel.
Ron Keel. Yeah.
And I've met Ron Keel. I know him. He is amazing. He's a smart guy, and he knows this business. And Crashing Wayward has played Vamped hundreds of times.
Sure.
And they're slowly now getting into national tours, you know, and I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
They got to play Nashville. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like I said, you guys are a big piece of the puzzle. And I think in the next year or so, if not sooner, we're going to see you right here in Vegas playing.
Oh, I hope so.
That would be
We would
great.
love that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in the ideal place. I mean, 12-hour radius of Nashville, you hit 80% of the population of the country.
Right.
So if we could, if we could get the right booking agent, somebody that can put something together, we're dead center. It's very easy to get most places. I mean, that's why so many tour bus companies are based here. It's easy to travel from, and if a bus breaks down, they can get one, to the band reasonably within the next day,
Exactly.
So we have a lot of advantages by being here. Getting out of here would actually be the most helpful. Living here is fantastic. Playing outside of here is the goal.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. And that's not a bad thing. You've got your
Yeah.
Nashville base, which is great. You've got Kentucky next to you. I mean, you've got
Yeah.
a lot of other states that are craving for rock and roll.
Yeah, 8 hours to Chicago.
Right. Chicago is an amazing, I'm from Chicago. It's an amazing rock and roll community. It's still strong as ever.
Yeah.
They have not had a major act come out of Chicago, as far as I understand, since Disturbed, and I think Panic at the Disco.
Right.
Wow.
Those are the two bands that I remember. But like I said, the goal here is to get you as much exposure to that person that maybe, Lost Circus, let me check them out. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do now, Tom, why don't you tell the viewers exactly where they can find all of your social medias?
You know what? I'm going to defer to Chad, because
Okay,
Chad
let's
is our social
That's
media.
right. I keep forgetting. Chad, you are the social media guru. Why don't you tell the fans exactly where they can find your music at?
So we've got a Linktree account, just Linktree/Lost Circus US, which will get you everything you need to know. But we are currently available, obviously, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. As far as the music goes, we're everywhere you can find it. Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Tidal, all those things. We're out there wherever you want to find digital music.
Okay.
We also have hard copy, having just signed with FHM Records. They're relaunching our album under their label, and they're going to have hard copies of that for sale on their website. That actually, I think the pre-sale starts the 20th, and then the
Okay.
launch is actually the 27th.
Okay,
That's
great.
fhmrecords.com. And we're on that label with some talent, some serious talent. We're surrounded by greatness, and that's iron sharpens iron. So it's great to be around guys that are gonna push us to be better.
And you still have the YouTube as well, right?
Absolutely, yeah, YouTube. We've recently there was a Headbanger channel actually just shared us. They actually did a video, was cover to cover of our album.
Okay, great.
That's had quite a few hits already. I think they launched it 2 days ago or something, or 2 or 3 days ago. But yeah, so I mean, pretty much anywhere you want to find your music, Amazon, Google Play, it's going to be there.
Yeah, and that's great, because that's what we need. We need to get your music out to everybody that maybe
agree.
doesn't know who Lost Circus is. I've been telling these people in Vegas, You should have seen this band, Lost Circus. They're going to be amazing in Vegas. They're like, who? I go, Lost Circus, look them up. They're from Nashville.
Well, we appreciate
These
that.
these are serious
you.
music people.
Yeah,
Okay.
we actually just I'd gotten some information a few different times. This guy, he's actually, I think he's based in Jackson, Tennessee, but it's metaldevastationradio.com. Well, he and his team started Metal Devastation PR. And so we gave him an opportunity, and, you know, we spent just a little bit of money with him, and, you know, and he's been kind of putting our stuff out there too. And he's kept me busy. I mean, because he shoots me an email about every other day. Hey, can you answer this interview? Or can
Right.
you shoot this guy a station ID? Can you do, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, so, you know, we're getting some traction there, and I've definitely seen it. You know, I keep an eye on, you know, the Spotify artists and the Apple Music artists page and the back end of YouTube. I watch, you know, for our user counts and our plays and all that. And,
Right.
and we've definitely seen some increases since taking him on, and, or him taking us on, I should say. You know, as a matter of fact, and I know it's small potatoes compared to some of the big artists out there, but
Right.
we did just hit 500 subscribers on YouTube. So
Yay,
We're-
that's amazing.
we're
That's
moving
great.
the numbers.
Okay, so I always ask this question at the end of a show. So I'm going to start with you, Steve. Okay, if you could collaborate with somebody, okay, any artist, dead or alive, who would it be?
Elvis Presley. No
Yeah.
question. Just
Elvis.
because I think it would be great. I know he didn't, he wrote some of his
Yeah.
songs, but I just think it would be great to throw something together with the king of rock and roll.
Of course. Okay, Brian, what about you?
I would have to say Randy Rhoads. I would love to just sit with him and create something, because I always felt like he was, you know, 6, 8, 10 guitar players in one, all the parts that
yeah.
he came up with. And I love the way he does voicings, and just the way that he came up with things that took the songs to a totally different place. And that to me would just be magical. I don't know if I would add anything to the mix, but I would love to try.
That sounds great. What about you, Kenny? Somebody dead or alive to collaborate with, who would it be?
You're muted, Kenny.
Oh, here we go.
Okay,
I would also have to say Randy Rhoads. I would love to. I don't know if I could contribute much to him, but I would love to sit down and have a nice guitar lesson with him.
wow, that's great. You know, you're not the first group that picked Randy Rhoads. I
Yeah.
interviewed a couple bands a couple weeks ago. They all said Randy Rhoads. What about you, Chad?
I mean, as far as I would love to work with, and this I'm going Faith No More, because they're the be all end all for me.
Okay,
But if I had another choice, I mean, I would love to work with either Ryan Upchurch, Adam Calhoun, or Tom McDonald. I have gotten into their music so much over the past like couple of years. You know, obviously Adam and Tom, you know, are doing more of the hip hop stuff, and Upchurch does as well, but Upchurch also does some rock and some country. And I just think all three of those guys are really top of their game right now. And they're all independent, which is crazy to see the numbers they get. But I just think it would be super cool to work with any of them.
what about you, Tom?
I'd probably say Neil Peart from Rush, just because he was, you know, the consummate drummer. But he was, and most people probably know, he was very much instrumental in working with Hugh Syme on like their album covers, in designing their show, their presentation. You know, I don't bring near as much musically to this band as the other four guys do, but I am all about how we're going to present it to our fans, you know.
And that's important. That's important.
Well, like I said before, we're not a jeans and t-shirt band,
Right.
and that was one of the reasons, I wanted to play in a band with Brian, because he has always, from the time we met, has always been about presenting a show to
Exactly.
people.
And that's
So
I mean, for me, it's always gone back to, if you went to see Shakespeare and you found the best Shakespearean actors and they did Macbeth perfectly, flawlessly, not a bump anywhere in the presentation, but they were just kind of wearing street clothes or
right.
just whatever, it wouldn't present itself the same way. Your eyes and your ears generally have to agree to really get the full impact of something.
Yeah,
I
totally agree. I
mean,
totally,
there's some bands, and I'm not gonna name any, just because this is not a negative thing. It was just an observation. There are some bands that are known for being heavier, darker, whatever. And I've seen them on some festivals where they get scheduled early in the day and the sunlight shining directly on them. It just does not present the same way as when they're in the dark and they can have the fog and the lights. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
exactly.
And
You
so I think that you have to kind of present congruency between your music, your presentation, your attitude, all of that. And it just makes it all better. I mean, obviously you have to have great songs, but if you can put it all together, which is why Kiss and Alice Cooper to me are the law. I had a friend that was working on one of the Kiss tours when they were doing the 3D thing, and he was standing on stage and he was radioing back and forth to the guy who was doing the projectors, and the guy out front said something to the effect of, yeah, that's close enough. Well, he didn't know Gene was standing right behind him and could hear his radio. And Gene grabbed the radio from him and said, if it's not perfect, it's wrong.
I know. And that's what's great about you guys, because you know your product and you want it to be perfect for everybody that's not only going to be visually watching you, listening to you, and as well as your live performance.
And why go through all that effort to only half-heartedly do it?
Right. Exactly.
I would say that if we can't do it the way we want to do it, then we won't do it.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. That's the whole consensus. Now, can everybody get merch from your website?
Yes.
you betcha.
Okay.
Yes. If you go to, it's lostcircusofficial.com, and there's a shop link there. The shop link is also in the Linktree account. And you've got all the options there. We're getting ready to add some new items.
Yeah, I love this poker chip. I'm actually going to turn it into a necklace and wear it to shows.
Awesome.
It's great. Well,
New product idea.
New product idea.
Right.
We're gonna do a Gene Simmons here.
Look at
Okay.
this, one of
Take
a,
that
one of a
idea.
kind. That's a one.
There you go. I
One of
just
a
want to
kind.
thank you guys for coming on. The hour went by really fast. And
Oh,
I,
you think it went by fast for you? Huh. It felt like 5 minutes for me.
I know, Brian. Thank you so much for calling from on the road.
Yeah, I was just mixing in Augusta doing golf. So
Okay,
kind of the
great.
opposite of what we do. So
Right. But I'm going to have you guys on again in the next few months, and we'll do a follow-up and see what you guys are up to.
Let's do it live from Vegas.
Yes,
There we go.
that's right. Live from Vegas. That would be great.
yes.
And we're going to keep in touch. Again, I'll be promoting you guys on my end. I'm going to drop this interview tonight on YouTube, and it will be an exclusive.
Thank you.
Sweet.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So definitely like and share it, and repost it, do whatever. And
You bet.
thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having us.
Thanks for having us.
And
It's been a pleasure.
hopefully
Thank
see you in Vegas soon.
Soon.
Yes.
Thank you so
Definitely.
much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Thanks a
Rock and
bunch.
roll.
Take care.
Bye.
See you next time.
See ya.
All right.
Wow, Lost Circus. Great story behind this band from Nashville. We're going to hear a lot more from Lost Circus in 23. So I'm super excited to hopefully see them right here in Vegas. So I'm the Vegas Rock Goddess. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and share. And I will be back with another interview soon. So everybody, take care. Boop, boop.